Hello and welcome to Merlin's Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, mocks of the week, and new LEGO ideas entries as well. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. Let's get started. As always, in alphabetical order, we will start with BlueBrixx, and here we have, I think, 3 or 4 updates, not that much this week. First of all, BlueBrixx has announced that they will have one more set on their medieval series. I think they have now 3 or 4 outstanding, or basically waiting for being available or getting available, whatever. Here we have now an addition to the list of announcements, and that is the Medieval Belts Caster, the 107,071. I think that's the first medieval set in the 107 range. And here we go. It's by a different designer, or not different, Anton, who has, I think, for BlueBrixx worked in the past most and foremost on their architecture series. And is now, it seems, also added to the medieval series team. So this set for sure is quite interesting. So we have an entirely different roof construction again. It does use Nexonite shields. So that's the first time on BlueBrixx side that they do this in the medieval series. As many people know, BlueBrixx, actually LEGO started that with the 21325, I think, the medieval blacksmiths. Obviously, with all the blue Nexonite shields, and after that, like a million mockers, alternate builds, etc., were created using that building technique. Plus, of course, a lot of Chinese brands copied that technique as well. So, BlueBrixx has never done that, at least not with their, let's say, main medieval series, because they are going for a much more realistic look and not like color scheme, the kind of color scheme that LEGO is using, you know, comic-based, whatever you may call it, but actually much more realistic. Long story short, they are now using Nexonite shields, and as you can see, they're using it very differently here, just as another piece next to ingots and regular tiles, just to basically create this rough look of the roof. What is interesting is that they are not using, as far as I can tell, any 2/3 slopes, which in many or almost all of their other medieval buildings have been used. A little bit of curved slope seems to be in the mix as well. So it's again an entirely different look, which I really appreciate. The rest of the building is more or less typical from the color scheme, like mid-European medieval look and feel to it. They have a new tree design here, and kind of an evergreen, I guess, using limb elements. Both sizes actually in dark green, looks quite nice. I'm not sure yet 100% if I really like the roof, but in all, I think it's quite a nice ensemble. We have 2,408 pieces in this one, no further details yet. And of course, as always with BlueBrixx announcement, no prices. However, as soon as sets get available, they also put out prices, of course. So what we have ready now is the Star Trek Picard Ready Room painting, the 105420. So this thing has been, it seems, as you can see on the number, in the planning over at BlueBrixx for quite a while. This thing has 3,744 pieces. It's quite a large artwork, if you will, brick-based artwork. It is almost a meter in width, and height is around 53 centimeters. So this is not a small one, and it's gonna cost you 190 euros. As always, that includes tax over here in the Union, 5.1 cents a piece. So BlueBrixx has done artworks in the past, but of course this is the first one in the Star Trek line. Plus, it is by far the largest one, as far as I can tell. As the name suggests, the idea is that this picture represents the artwork that Jean-Luc Picard has in his waiting room. So, yeah, next to that, I guess it's a typical artwork from the building technique point of view. I guess it has quite some similarities, so using a couple of techniques that LEGO has been using in the Rolling Stones one, right? So it's not like the original artworks were with all the 1x1 tiles or studs or round tiles or round plates, I want to say, but instead it's using a mix of larger tiles, wedges, etc., to get the look they are looking for. I think it does look quite nice. However, I do not intend to build it personally. And then, as always, I like to talk about a couple of availabilities from very old sets. So if you look at the number, this is like from the early days of BlueBrixx, the 100460. This hasn't been available for several years, I think. So BlueBrixx is bringing it back. Always great to have, right? If this thing wouldn't be from Lego, you would pay a fortune for it because it's old. And people, for whatever reasons, like to pay a lot of extra for older sets. Anyhow, not needed with BlueBrixx because they bring it back. 27 euros, 5.6 cents a piece. And there's even from the very early days, I guess, a brand video on this one. And last but not least, we have also availability of the Relax Cube. 213 pieces for are in the 105,542, and BlueBrixx is asking for 13 bucks. That's 61 cents a piece. That was that already from BlueBrixx. Not such a large number, not so many news. And with that, we are coming to the CaDA combination safe, a new collaboration with the designer BlueBrixx, who has already contributed, or CaDA has already created his solar system, which I think historically has also been a very famous MOC by BlueBrixx. And he's, by the way, also the designer of the Bricklink package Pursuit, or Bricklink designer program set Pursuit of Flight. So here you go, already 3 sets by BlueBrixx, which is quite amazing. Anyhow, let's come back to the safe. So my guess is, and this would be actually typical BlueBrixx style, it's of course fully functioning, and that's, I guess, the whole idea. The interesting part, where I'm not so sure yet. So this is for sure a curved piece here with the numbers for the safe. So my guess is it has to be pet printed, because I think you can't really do this with a sticker, which would be quite interesting, of course. All right, I think that is about that. I mean, it is a functioning safe, I guess, so there must be some technic mechanism on the inside. The secret of safe, actually, that's interesting. That is not uncommon, by the way, that CaDA puts a different set name on the box than they put on their store. Usually I use the names from the store, but as you can see here, the box says the secret of safe, and the CaDA store says combination of safe. Combination safe, not off safe. Anyhow, speaking of such, CaDA store, CaDA's listing this one was $44 US. But I'm pretty sure as soon as we see this one in retail, both in China as well as over here in Europe or in the US, prices will come down, because that's what they usually do. And with that, we are moving on to Cobi. And here we have availability, at least over here in Europe. As always, Cobi, usually I'm just talking about European availability, simply because in North America, at least, it takes quite a while until these things get available. And in fact, I think a lot of folks from the Northern American community import these things from Europe. And anyhow, the Lockheed C-130 Hercules? I guess it's Hercules, isn't it? Anyhow, 5839 is now available. So it's a 1x61 model. It has only 602 pieces, but don't let them fool you with that, because this thing actually has a wingspan of 70.5 centimeters, and it's almost 50 centimeters in length. So this thing is huge. And of course, how do they do this with only 600 pieces? Of course, there are a couple of very large pieces. Not uncommon. Cobi is using this technique, using these large pieces. I mean, it almost does not feel like brick build, right? I mean, it has 600 pieces, I guess, so it's not such a small number, but they do the similar things with civilian aircraft, like with the Boeing 737 and stuff like that. So they are using a similar technique here. So anyhow, of course, that makes it quite interesting, as both to put as a model on your shelf, but I guess it could also be quite interesting for kids, because it's large, kids love that, and at the same time, it should be relatively easy to build. And my guess is, I haven't seen it myself in person, but I guess it's also pretty robust. This is just what I'm thinking. Which also means I think there's a pretty decent chance that you can put this thing, like, attach it to the roof or something, like put it on a strip, or I don't know, something like that. Anyhow, minifigure included. And over in Europe, you pay between 50 and 55 bucks for that, which of course, if you count per piece, is not that cheap. However, consider how huge this thing is. Again, wingspan of 70 centimeters, and you get this for 50 bucks over here. So That's quite good, I would say, not too shabby. And with that, we're moving on to Lego, and Lego is actually the reason why I postponed the show by 1 day, so it should have released yesterday. I'm recording this a day later because not with this one, but we will see a couple of sets in a minute that were already made available like yesterday or the day before over here in Europe. But I mean, at least in the German Lego store, that's actually what I have for a couple of sets, only the German names. But for whatever reason, they were not listed in the US store, which I usually use as a reference, both for prices as well as to get the correct names in English, etc., etc. And a couple of sets were not available. So that's why I waited a bit. But at least during my recording, which is now basically 3rd of May, noon or afternoon in Europe, Central European time, at least at this time, still no listing. By the way, there also in between my German recording yesterday and my English recording today, a lot more sets were announced by Lego. However, because I try to keep my two shows in sync, because that makes my life a lot easier to keep count what I've talked about and what not. So that's why I can't cover these. But there's a ton of interesting new Lego stuff over here. But like I said, not all of the sets I'm going to talk about are yet listed, at least in the North American Lego stores. I also checked the Canadian ones, same situation as the US one. But we will come to that in a second. With that, we will start with the Creator 3-in-1 Main Street, the 31141, which is going to release August 1st. And like the name suggests, it's basically a street, so you have a couple of buildings. However, they are quite shallow buildings, so especially the 3-in-1 sets, I really like the buildings from 3-in-1 in the past, or preferred them, especially compared to many city buildings, because these were entire buildings, right? Whole buildings, with everything, right? Basically like a mini modular, if you will. And in many other kids series, like Harry Potter or City, Lego has moved for quite a while into these very shallow, like 4-star, 6-star deep buildings only. And now they have done this as well with the 3-in-1 system, which I really don't like. But I guess that's a matter of taste. And you have two alternative buildings, which are very similar, right? So this one here, it looks different. Of course, it is a different shape, different building. But at the end of the day, it's just a building again. And then you have, and it looks very similar. It is again like shallow construction with 4 to 6 studs again. I guess it's a different kind of building, but here we go. And then we have a tower that at least is something really different. I really like the model. I think they have done quite a nice job here. You have the traffic light here as well. So I think that one I really like. But again, it is, as you can see, at the end of the day, just a shallow thing and no back wall, etc., etc. So not really that happy around this one. Plus, Lego is asking for $140 US. That's 9.6 cents a piece. I guess that's a new record for larger Creator 3-in-1 sets, right? So if you look into the Medieval Castle, that has almost the same piece count, and it's $40 less. That's huge. So the Creator 3-in-1 ship, admittedly, is in the same ballpark. I mean, it has less pieces, and it's $120 US. However, keep in mind, first of all, Lego raised the price, so originally it was $20 less, and I guess that's about that. Plus, it's a cool pirate ship, right? So anyhow, still I believe that the Medieval Castle is by far most bang for the buck when it comes to the larger Creator 3-in-1 series sets. But what I really don't like that much is like how shallow the building is. For instance, if you look into the Cozy House, the 31139, first of all, it is a lot cheaper. It's 7.5 cents a piece with only $60. And at least the main building for me has a lot more depth. Yes, it has no back walls, but at least a little bit more, right? Plus, you can close the building like this. And I think this is the main difference. I have no problem if you can open up the building, but you should have at least a mode like this one here that I'm showing right now, where you basically have a complete building. By the way, what I'm showing right now, usually I talk to you listeners in quotes also from time to time. So of course we have this series as a video podcast on YouTube and then as an audio only on Spotify. However, as many of you may know, Spotify is now also starting to offer video podcast as a feature. So I have to do this manually, but I have started to upload the episodes as well on Spotify, the video version. So also Spotify, watchers, I now have to say, not just listeners, can take a look at what I'm talking about here as well. But it still works in background. That is my understanding from Spotify. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to the Space Roller Coaster, the 31142. Also not a cheap set. It's $110 only for 874 pieces. However, you have, the rails in there and everything. So I guess a slightly higher price is to be expected. You have astronauts in there. You have this tiny baby astronaut. Is it astronaut? I'm not sure. My English is leaving me again. Anyhow, I think this one was known from the last minifigure collector series, right? But anyhow, you have a full-blown roller coaster. In general, I really like this model. I think it looks really cool. It looks sleek, and it's a roller coaster. I mean, what's not to love? The biggest drawback, I guess, so this thing had a predecessor that was the 31084. I think it's from 2018. So that was the Pirate roller coaster. So in general, this is just a successor. However, the biggest difference to the predecessor is that the alternate models, so B and C models, they are no roller coasters. So basically all the tracks and everything, I think you are basically not using with the B and C model, which I really, that is something to regret, that Lego is going to regret, I guess, because I think that makes this roller coaster a lot less attractive, right? Because it is around the roller coaster function, and the other two, I mean, the space shuttle here, that's quite nice, no doubt about that. So the models are well done, but that they're not using the tracks and basically have no roller coaster kind of functionality. This is really unfortunate because this is something the predecessor could do. So if you look here at the B and C model, I mean, it's not like an entire roller coaster, but at least the tracks were, at least to a certain degree, were used. And I think that was a big benefit, because I think that is why people buy this thing. And the new set, unfortunately, can't do that. Anyhow, with that, we are moving on to the Disney Duos. That is actually a set that was not in the US store yesterday when I recorded the German show, but it is today at least. So 2 sets at least have gotten available in the meantime. So this thing is Disney Duos. So you have these 4 couples. 43226, 553 pieces, and Lego is asking for $45. So I don't know, you have Nemo in there and a couple of others. I think there are a lot of quite interesting prints. You have, of course, these 2x4 tiles, Disney 100 years. I guess these are prints. I'm almost sure by looking at it. But of course, I mean, if you look at the turtle here, I forgot the name of the dude, but this thing, the curved slopes here, 2x2, are done with stickers. So I guess there's both of that in there. But there are also a lot of interesting prints as far as I can tell by looking at it. Looks quite nice. I really like this package box of the 100 years Disney, right? This thing looks like, I think this is something cool that you can also, buy as a present for other folks. Even for grown-ups, right? If you're a Disney fan, I think you have to love this one. Anyhow, $45, 8.1 cents a piece. With that, we are moving to Villain Icons. This was the second set that got available in the meantime in the North American store. By the way, 1st of June, I think, is the release date for. Let me just double check. No, the 3-in-1 sets, the creator ones, are August 1st. And the 2 Disney sets are June 1st. Anyhow, with that, we are moving on to Villain Icons. The 43227, 1,540 pieces for $130 US. That's 8.5 cents a piece. You have 4 minifigures included, plus a couple of books and this tape here as well, and the apple. There are functions in there, pretty cool play functions, I actually do believe. Like you can open up the apple, and you can open up the tape, and and I'm pretty sure these are stickers. You have all these different scenes, right, from Mermaid, and I don't know, I can't really recognize the others, but nevertheless, this looks pretty cool. Where I'm not so sure on the whole print and sticker situation is actually the watch, or the clock. It does look a bit like a print. I think it kind of has to be a print because I guess this is curved as well, but I'm again not sure. But the overall design I do really like. I like the packaging. Again, could also be a nice present for a true Disney fan. However, 8.4 cents a piece is not that cheap. However, keep in mind you have the license, of course, included, and 4 minifigures. And with that, we're moving on to Marvel. And here we are in the territory. These are the 4 sets that are still, and this is why you see in here all the German names, because I have the data from the German Lego store. So Motorräder means two-wheelers, basically. Motorcycles. Anyhow, let's just briefly go through them. I also have only European prices, so I do not know yet the US prices. But we're talking about the 76260 Marvel Black Widow and Captain America bicycles, I guess, or motorcycles. You have 2 minifigures included, obviously, Black Widow and Captain America, and at least over here in Europe, it's $16. Again, Europe, that always includes tax. Or VAT for that matter. And yeah, I guess it is another cheap way to get these 2 minifigures. However, in general, Marvel to grab the, let's say, regular minifigures is usually relatively easy because there are so many small playsets. I think especially Marvel is interesting. Star Wars is similar, right? Where you can buy, I don't know, the small fighters and stuff for an easy way. I don't know, Mandalorian, for instance, or Boba Fett, 2 very cool minifigures in the Star Wars area, and you can get them usually in 10 to 15 bucks sets. And Marvel is very similar. All in all, 2 cool minifigures for, at least in Europe, $16. And then you have 3 of these larger build figures. I mean, this is technically not Marvel, this is DC, but anyhow, you have Batman as a buildable figure. It has 275 pieces, 76259. Looks really cool, by the way. The Dark Knight, you know, he has a huge cloak. My understanding is that in the past, Lego has done that before. Somebody told me, like, there was a Darth Vader, I think, buildable figure with a very large cloak. Anyhow, I haven't seen this in quite a while, at least. Over here in Europe, you pay for this dude $38, including tax. And then we have Captain America with a very cool pad printed shield, as far as I can tell, 76258. It's 310 pieces, again, $38 over here. And you can attach the shield to the back and to his hand. And yeah, but in general, I mean, especially you look at the hat, the piece that they use here usually is always the same, right? You have this piece and this one, I forgot what it is called. And then basically they print the head that they need on the piece. And then you have Wolverine. So that's, again, the Wolverine from the books. Not the one from the movies, 76257. The Wolverine, it has 327 pieces, swords or blades attached to his hands and everything for $38 again. Personally, I've never been a big fan of this kind of look and feel for the Wolverine. However, I'm not really a purist, like, you know, I've never really read the book, so I guess I'm more kind of the Marvel movie universe kind of guy. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to the new Super Mario extensions. By the way, the 3 figures, I think all of them will release 1st of June. Yes, I can confirm that. And then with that, we're moving on to Super Mario extensions. Again, like a huge load of these extensions. So we talked in the past about the castle with the Dry Bowser Castle Battle Expansion set, which was already a pretty large one. And now we have this one here, the Diddy Kong's Mine Cartwright Expansion set. So this is also going to release August 1st. I think all the extensions will. It's 1,157 pieces. So keep in mind, all of these we are talking about today are, again, just the extensions. So I think you need Peach, Luigi, or Mario base package, right? You need one of these, and then you can add extensions as the heart's content. This thing here, did I mention it's $110 for 1,157 pieces? And basically, yeah, you have a couple of tracks in there. These are brick build tracks, so these are not regular Lego train tracks. And yeah, here you go. I mean, like I've said in the past, I've never really played this, so I can't say anything on like the quality or does it make sense or how good the expansion is. I have actually no idea. By the way, here, as you can see here you see right now on the picture that I'm showing the 3 starter sets. So you have Mario here, Peach, and Luigi, of course. And yeah, that's basically this. It's the largest of this announcement wave, I should rather say, because again, the Bowser one is not even released yet, and has been announced quite a while ago. Anyhow, let's move on to Super Mario Dixie Kong's Jungle Jam expansion set. So here Jam Session is part of the name and part of the game, and it's going to release August 1st as well. 174 pieces, $26. That's quite a lot of money. But I guess that's the price you have to pay for these extensions. And yeah, here you go. It's a small one. You can put Mario or the figures in the center, and then basically, I don't know, while jamming, Mario is dancing, something like that. I guess that's the idea here. Let's go to number 3. Again, I think it's the Donkey Kong expansion line, but it's Rambi the Rhino. Whoa. 71420, 106 pieces, $11, and I'm not sure if I've seen these rock pieces before. I really have to look this up, but for me, at least I've never seen them. That does not necessarily mean, I mean, Lego has, I don't know, 70, 80, 90,000 pieces, but I guess it's even more. So me not seeing that, I have not seen them, doesn't say much, but nevertheless, I find these very cool. Look a bit like Duplo, but I guess it's regular Lego pieces. And the curved slope looks pet printed, at least here on this picture. However, as we have seen in the past, pictures might betray here. And again, it's part of the Donkey Kong series. And then we are moving on to the last one. And this is Donkey Kong's Treehouse expansion set, the 71424, 555 pieces, $60, 10.8 cents a piece. So this is, I think that's the only one where Donkey Kong itself is in there, right? Which is fine. I think you need only one. And it's pretty cool, actually. I'm not so sure about the leaves. Again, a piece that I haven't seen before. And because I'm usually pretty much into plant stuff from Lego, I'm pretty sure this is a new piece. Please keep me corrected here. Keep me honest in the comments section. But at least for me, this looks like a new piece, which would be really exciting. At least, nevertheless, even if it's not new, I would really like to get my hands on these, because I have a couple of ideas what I could do with them. With that, we are moving on to a couple of availabilities. Obviously, you're all aware. May the 4th, is still around the corner, so we are not there yet. However, Lego, as you know, has already started their May the 4th thing on May the 1st, actually. And so the Executor is Superstar Destroyer, the 75356, is in theory available. However, as you can see here from the gray button, at least in the US store, it's already sold out. In Germany, when I looked last, it was still available, so I'm not 1% sure. Actually, we can double check that. Let's do this. Let's go to the German version. My apologies for the zoom level. And let's go into the German Lego store. No, actually, it's on back order, but okay, that's the situation. Obviously, this is an exclusive set, and as I think it's a pretty cool one. But yeah, here you go. I have mine 0.5 meter behind me right now, and I do intend to build it in the next couple of days. Long story short, Lego price hasn't changed, $70, 11.1 cents a piece. So let's go briefly through this, because, oh no, not this one, because this one I think I haven't talked about before. Yes, this was announced pretty close to the release. I think somewhere last week. BlueBrixx Studios has already a review out there from the Lego recognized fan media site. 957 pieces for the Mandalorian Fang Fighter versus Toy Interceptor 75348. Obviously, this relates to, I guess, the last 2 episodes of the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. As you can see here, at least it's again sold out in the US, but at least retailers over here in Europe. Actually, in Europe, it's pretty broad. I mean, if you look on the Central European side, like, you have dozens of retailers who have this thing right now in stock, and you already get pretty good discounts. But nevertheless, I think it's a pretty cool set, the way it looks. You have the TIE Interceptor, you have a couple of cool minifigures. So you have this, I think it's called like a Mandalorian Fleet Commander. You have Mando with Beskar armor. I mean, I don't know, Mando is, it looks like it's becoming kind of the new Darth Vader of the Lego Star Wars series by means, like, I mean, it's a very good minifigure, right? It has arm prints and everything, and now even the new Darksaber, which, spoiler alert, does not make much sense in this set, but I'm not going to go into this rabbit hole. But I mean, we have so many sets now with this Mandalorian minifigure. So I think Lego's overdoing it a little bit, especially considering that there's actually no real reason why it should be in here, right? I can say that much. In Season 3, he's not piloting any of the two. And in fact, whatever he does there is not related to these two fighters. So I don't know. I think it's a bit like I said, Darth Vader, that Lego is almost throwing into every set that is somehow related to episode 4, 5, or 6. And it seems to be that Mando in Beskar is now the same thing. But anyhow, it's a bit unfortunate because in general, you're right, you could use Mandalorians for army building. But the problem is he's basically the only one running around in pure Beskar without any color on it, right? He's almost the only one doing that. So that's a bit the issue, right? So that makes repurposing the minifigure a bit worse. I mean, this blue Mandalorian, right, of those, you could easily use dozens, but not of him. But anyhow, you have also TIE Fighter Pilot, and I think the first black R2 unit. And hopefully you can't see this here. I guess you can figure it out when you look at BlueBrixx review. The question is this thing printed on the back as well, like the other newer red and blue R2 units are? Anyhow, it looks pretty cool. It also means that with the TIE Fighter, the 75300 that I think was released 2 years ago, and the TIE Bomber from last year, basically you now have the holy trinity of TIE fighters, right? You have the regular fighter, the bomber, and the interceptor, which I personally think is really, really cool, right? This is the most important TIE fighters, and you get them for a relatively decent price, not too shabby. And of course, the two dioramas, I've talked about those before. Yes, I did. Those two are also now available, and you can buy them. Actually, I think one of them, at least, I have already in my office. The other one is on its way. So with that, and the second diorama, of course, so next to the Emperor's Throne Room, the 75352 that is available now. Actually, in Europe, it's around $80, but Lego list price is $100. And then you have the Ender Speed Chase diorama, the 75353, that is available as well. All of them around May the 1st. They are gift with purchases. So if you buy them directly from Lego, you get like a Death Star, which I personally think is a bit of a bummer. I mean, I really preferred the gift with purchases of previous years. I really loved the architecture dioramas that they did like 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago, right? That was Tatooine. But also last year, that was also quite nice. Very beautiful diorama. And yeah, Death Star, I mean, it's a globe, basically, and globes don't do very well in bricks. But anyhow, there's a bunch of gift with purchases around May the 1st, and also a couple of discounts on some interesting sets. I think most and foremost, the Razor Crest, the UCS one from last year. And actually, I forgot. This is really cool. How did I do this? I forgot. Of course, the X-Wing, I will actually correct that. Somehow I forgot. The X-Wing is, of course, available. The UCS one, 75355, 1,949 pieces. And Lego is still asking for $240. So buying this one at least gives you all the gift with purchases. I haven't checked in the US, but in Germany, that means you get like this poly bag with an X-Wing, small X-Wing. Then you get, of course, the Death Star, and then there's one other thing, like these 2 coins. I'm not really sure what is on them. Not really my cup of tea. Anyhow, $240 US available now as well. Then I want to talk about availability of this one. Actually, it's on the picture of the thumbnail of this show. That's why I wanted to mention. The Witcher Griffin Hunt is now available at Amazon over here in Europe. But I haven't seen it on Amazon US yet. So I think there's still, for folks outside of Europe, still a bit more time that you need to wait. But at least in Amazon German, you can get it. What is definitely available to everybody is the Upside Down Cafe, the 10209 by Mork. That's the second design actually by Yellowbox 777. I've talked about this before. The Mork Science Museum was his first design, authorized design, published by Mork. This one here has 3,118 pieces. I think I reported on this one. Yes, when did I do this? In March, not that long a time ago, months ago. And it's now available in China. And there you pay, I think that includes shipping into Central Europe, I believe. Double check. Or check for yourself what the shipping to your location is. Anyhow, in China. You get this for around $160 US. That's 3.7 cents a piece. Not too shabby. And yeah, I really like this design. I've talked about this before. It's very creative. Yellowbox is a unbelievable talented designer, similar to Also Young. Actually, I think they're both from South Korea, right? May be wrong here, but very talented designers. And Yellowbox has done amazing stuff, as always, on the CaDA page. That is, of course, linked both in the video description for YouTube viewers and for other folks in the podcast show notes. And there you should also find the link to the CaDA page. And here you can find the Instagram link to Yellowbox Instagram account, which I think I really recommend to take a look at. Yellowbox, it's great that he's now collaborating with Mork here, because Yellowbox designs that have always been beautiful have been copied a lot. And there's a lot of Chinese brands out there who actually copied or kind of stole his designs. So it's really cool now that we have an authorized set that you can actually buy from Mork. And with that, and I think this is an awful picture, so let's go to this one. So this is a cruise missile launching vehicle, whatever, the CJ-10 by Mould King cruise missile launching vehicle. It's a military Technic vehicle, the 20008, 4,848 pieces. That's quite a lot. $243 US. I have the first retailer that has listed this one. Large Technic and military is not, I mean, in this combination, not really my cup of tea, but if you're into this thing and you want to build something really, really large in a military look, I mean, it's a military vehicle, then here you go. My guess is, I actually haven't double checked, but I guess the CJ-10, based on the markings here, is a Chinese system. Anyhow, with that, we are moving on to another Mork announcements. And this is, I was told, actually you can't see it on the box, but I was told by other folks that this is a design by Ivan Emmett. Well, I mean, I know that it is the design, but I was told it's authorized. If that is wrong, please keep me honest here. Write this in the comments and I will double check if you have any evidence that this is not legit. But my understanding is, so far it is. So this was the design by Ivan M. As always, on the CaDA page, you find both links to the designer, the rubric page of the Mork itself and the designer, etc. Anyhow, the pneumatic concrete truck, the 19003 by Mould King, it has 4,368 pieces, and you can see it right now. Buy it in China for roughly or slightly less than $200, 4.5 cents a piece. It's pneumatic, so it's using air, which is really amazing because we don't see this that often anymore, especially not in such large sets. I guess this feels a lot like the good old days of Lego Technic. I guess Lego never went this far. It's really, really huge. You know, it has the control boom, which, I don't know, looks like, I don't know, it looks very, very high, almost unbelievable that with this, you know, with this angle that the pneumatic system is able actually to push it up, but I guess it is because this is how it looks like. And yeah, it can be rotated by 360 degrees. So this is, so if you have a concrete truck as well in a similar size, you can, you know, build quite a scene here with this pneumatic concrete truck. With that, I think, Pantasy, the Little Prince. So that's interesting. So this is a brick build set, but obviously it looks a lot like the Lego minifigure. I guess that's the plan. Not sure if they can get away with this, at least over here in Europe. Lego is fighting against this tooth and nail on the legal side. But anyhow, let's see the Little Prince. This is actually not that new. However, it has never been listed on the Pantasy site itself, the Pantasy shop, but instead I've only seen it with other retailers. But anyhow, I wanted to briefly mention this one, the 86309, another set from the Little Prince series by Pantasy. Over in China, you can get it for $21 right now. Because I do not know the piece count, which is always a bit hard to figure out with Pantasy. We do not know the price per piece. Anyhow, this is actually, I think, the 5th set, maybe, was the 6th even, that they have created out of. I mean, it's minimum 6, because I have at least right now 6 on my mind. But yeah, Pantasy has the Little Prince license, the famous book and famous children's book, I guess. And here is another one. With that, we are leaving the set territory and moving on to MOCs of the week. And here's a very interesting one. I have, I think, 5 or 6 this week that have been released in the last couple of days. So as I've said, I think last week, the Navarro Homestead diorama, I mean, there are so many popping up on BlueBrixx right now. I find it so interesting that the amazing season 3 of The Mandalorian, especially the last 3-4 episodes, I mean, as a big personal fan of Bo-Katan myself, I mean, this was just amazing. I mean, Mandalorians are so cool, but I'm not going to spoil anything. Anyhow, you see this building maybe in the last 10 seconds of the last episode. But people got, for whatever reason, so excited about it that you have like 1 million dioramas now on Rebrickable. But anyhow, this one I do really like. It's by Actos. It has 832 pieces. You can get the manual, the instruction for $5, and it looks really amazing. Especially I do love that it basically fits into this new Lego diorama setup, and I think it's very well done. It has a couple of interesting angles in there. I mean, it's a small diorama, so it has, like I said, only 832 pieces, but I think Actos has done a great job here. You have an interior, so I'm personally really thinking about building this one. Really, really cool. Anyhow, with that, we are moving on to another MOC. I think I already talked about or reported on one last week, and I think the one last week was like 16,000 pieces or so, like enormous. And now Pontus German MOCs is basically releasing another one from Elden Ring, and it's not that big, but it's still huge. I have no idea. Maybe they have prepared this for quite a while, but it's astonishing to me that 2 enormous MOCs like these get published in such short order. But anyhow, you have the Hero's Grave here, $15. It's only digitally built, so I'm not sure if the designer has actually built this one for real, because such large MOCs sometimes have a tendency to collapse, because, right, you can do this easily digitally, but obviously the force yeah, basically there's a couple of physical limitations that you sometimes have with bricks, right? If you go very large. And so this could be interesting here. But in general, it's because it's a very sturdy and robust building. I do believe it should work. It looks really nice. I prefer it to the one I talked about last week, by the way. Last week I talked about the Divine Tower, which has 16,700 pieces. But as you can see, I mean, it's enormous, and for that it is exciting, but it is not that detailed, right? That's actually what I missed a little bit. And the one from this week, the Hero's Grave, this one actually has a lot more detail to it, a lot more, you know, the eye can see and find. And so I personally prefer this one, actually. I also really like the tree design. I haven't seen this one before, but I think it looks really cool. I never played Elden Ring myself, so I can't speak about authenticity. Oh my god, my language is leaving me to die. Anyhow, I really like this MOC. With that, we're moving on to a very small one by Saturite, I would say. Only 191 pieces of the apothecary, right? It is actually, just a small market stand, and it's free of charge. So really, really nice one, especially if you want to build like a medieval market, right? It's just cool to have these small things to bring more life to it. Actually, BlueBrixx has a medieval market set out there with market stands that look very similar. However, they are more straightforward. Like there's a weapon stand, cheese, and fish, I think. So this one, of course, here adds a bit more like, I mean, it's apothecary, so in theory it could be true medieval, but I think it also has a slight fantastical look to it, right? This could fit quite well, and actually I do believe you will need a couple of Harry Potter pieces, so this could fit into a Harry Potter scene. It could even fit into a modern medieval market scene, right? You could put this even in your, I don't know, Lego city, but also use, of course, in a high fantasy or setting like that. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to a MOC by Silvio Tristram, 1,548 pieces for the set or the design 42042 meets 8043. So 8043, I think, or basically the idea is that you He took a look at the 42042, which I think the designer really liked, the crawler crane, but the designer was also a big fan of the 8043 that actually was motorized. So the idea was here to have a combination that you have this motor crane or this crane, but fully motorized. I think that was the idea, all right, to put the remote control functionality into this great Lego design. I think the two sets mentioned, I think this one here, so the original 42042 is like from 2015 and the 8043 is like from 2010. So this is like really old school Technic brought together to have even something better. €5, not too shabby. And with that, we're moving on to my personal favorite, I think, together with the Diorama. You know, I'm an old Star Wars fan, can't help it. Anyhow, it's a Z95 Headhunter Starfighter, and it's by Marius 2002. When I look at it, I almost can't believe that he managed to do this with only 737 pieces. It looks like so much more. It looks like it could, in scale, almost compete or is comparable from a scale perspective to the new UCS X-Wing, which however is 2,000 pieces, and this thing has only 737. I don't know. It looks larger than it can be, you know, considering the piece count, and it looks really nice. I mean, it looks like a real finished model, and personally I've always been a big fan of the Z95. I mean, obviously you have seen this one in computer games in the past, but personally I think I first read about it in the original Han Solo novel, like 25 years ago, and I don't know, for whatever, I always had a soft spot for the Headhunter Starfighter. Anyhow, here you go, Marius 2002, only 737 pieces. With that, we are done with mocks of the week, and we're moving on to Lego ideas. So round 70, no, the first round 2023 Lego Ideas is done, and they have 71 product ideas. I mean, it's not that long ago that, I don't know, they were below the 20, and then, you know, during COVID it moved up to around 40 usually, and now we are at 71. So that's really crazy. It's a ton of stuff, and as you may know, I mean, when I started this news show, I mean, and I started the German version a long time before I started the English version, I used to report on every design that made the 10,000 mark. Which is basically what it needs to be, where it needs to be considered by the Lego Ideas team. I don't do that anymore because I'm just overwhelmed with all the talent and all the designs, quite honest. But the reason why I introduced also Mocks of the Week is because Mocks of the Week is something that you can really buy, right? If you look into this one here, you have 71, and most of them are really amazing designs. And Lego may build, like, usually they do, like, in the old days, they did maybe 1 or 2. I guess nowadays it's more like 3 or 4. But most of these sets you can never buy. Plus, to my knowledge, when you put this stuff into ideas for several years, actually no other company can license it, or you can't put it on Rebrickable. I think you are kind of locked for 3 years. I may be wrong here, but anyhow, so that's what is so sad around Lego Ideas nowadays. That's so many amazing designs will never see the light of actually being a product or being, you know, something that you can get your hands on. Anyhow, and also with 71, I can't go through all of them like I used to do in the old days, you know, give my predictions, like, no, it's just not possible anymore. What I can say, though, is I really recommend taking a look at this because there are so many amazing designs, inspiring designs in here. You know, starting from this one here, for instance, which already looks so cool. But yeah, I mean, I can't, you know, like I said, comment them all. Really like the Medieval Seaside Market. It's by BlueBrixx Fan IU, which, by the way, also has an amazing Rebrickable and Instagram account. So there is so many amazing sets, so many sets I would love to see. For instance, the Shrek one, I would really love for Lego to grab the Shrek license. I think this is something Lego could do really, really well. Actually, there are 2 Shrek buildings even in there. I really would like if they don't do any more sitcoms. I just can't stand it anymore. But yeah, I mean, there's cool stuff in here. Like I said, pretty amazing designs. Also, this one here by BlueBrixx. I always like his designs. But Where's Wally is awesome. I mean, this thing, I mean, look at it. I mean, I don't know if Lego is not doing something like this, because this is, I mean, I've never thought about that, but it's cool. It's just an amazing design. Would love Lego to do it basically exactly like this. Just make a set exactly like this one here, and I'm happy. This is, this is something you look at and you just have to smile. But anyhow, many amazing things. The ET one. Oh my god, is this thing good? Again, this is such high quality. Lego could just make a set out of it. No questions are done by Brickster. Just go for it. Actually, I think this one has I don't know what the license situation is. If ET is in the hands of a company that Lego has a good relationship with, but I mean, this thing is just perfect. But yeah, there are many cool things in there. Many I would like to see as a real set. Anyhow, with that, we are basically closing the show. I hope you liked the show. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel. For you podcast listeners or viewers going forward, please leave a review, comment, or like on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. Thanks for listening. See you next week.